Hello, everyone. It's a real honor to be here. Thanks for inviting me. So I'm a co-founder with two partners, Mark Willett and Daniel Pando, of a startup social media application called Be Out. Be Out is to be. It's launching in September. So there's a website you can go visit now, which I will, of course, tell you about at the end. But Be Out is to be a center for LGBTQs online. Right now there isn't one. It's kind of astonishing to think that there isn't one in this day and age, but there isn't. I chose this topic many, many weeks ago when I was first asked to come here. And you know, the events of the last couple of days in Orlando specifically have added a sort of profound, on point. I'm kind of astonished at the timing of this and a little shaky about it. But so I stand here tonight not just as the co-founder of an LGBTQ digital app, but I stand here before you as an out and proud gay man. As Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, said, I love being gay. I really do. It's the best thing that ever happened to me. I can't imagine my life any other way. But as I stand before you right now also, there are thousands and thousands of people in front of the Stonewall Inn in Greenwich Village right now. For those of you who don't know, the Stonewall Inn is where the LGBTQ rights movement started many, many years ago, 46 years ago, exactly. So, you know, we're there, our friends are there, our community is there to express our anger, our profound sadness at the shooting on Saturday night in Orlando. 50 dead, the worst mass shooting in US history, certainly the worst atrocity against LGBTQ people in America, ever. You know, everybody talks about marriage equality. We all talk about the leaps and bounds that we've taken as a nation to offer LGBTQ people the same rights as everybody else has. And that's all well and good. But life on a day-to-day basis is not as sweet as that makes it all sound. It's not to say that I'm not a happy person. I am. I have a wonderful partner, a great life, but let me tell you what happened. So a couple of months ago, my boyfriend and I were on the A train in Manhattan, where we live. Beautiful Saturday morning, we decided to go and take the ferry to IKEA to get the meatballs and have a fight. Isn't that what happens at IKEA? Couples fight. But so there we were on the A train, having a great time, gorgeous day, going downtown. Train pulls up to our station. We stand up and go to the door. And right as the doors open, I hear someone behind us calling to us. So I turn around, Marcel doesn't, I turn around, and I'm face to face, eye to eye, with this 20-something-year-old young man who looks at me with such hatred in his face that it shook me to my core. And he said one word. He said, faggot. That's all he said, faggot. And he said it with such hatred, I honestly have never experienced anything like that. I was terrified. I was frightened. I felt sick immediately. It was just horrible. Hard to describe how I felt. But what happened over the next couple of days is I found myself really kind of being ashamed. I was ashamed that I didn't do anything. I was ashamed that I didn't fight back. I was ashamed. I felt helpless. I was embarrassed. I definitely felt assaulted, but I felt absolutely powerless to do anything about it. You know, and the thing is, I want to fight back. I really, really want to fight back. This happened, mind you, in Manhattan, which is arguably the most liberal and one of the gayest places in America. So that happened. Let me run down a little bit of data for you, a little bit of evidence, as we talked about a little earlier. In the first 6 months of 2016, murders of 10 transgender people have been reported. That's in the first 6 months. Almost all of the victims were people of color, and the vast majority were black transgender individuals. Last year was the deadliest year on record, 2015, deadliest year on record for transgender people in the United States. Just 21 trans people were reported murdered in 2015, 21. And that's reported, and the reason we say reported is because obviously we have no idea how many more there are that are not reported. In the last 10 months alone, 30 gay men have been brutally beaten in Oak Lawn, which is Dallas's gay neighborhood. Every single day, young LGBTQs are thrown out of their homes when they come out to their parents and their families, thrown out on the street. Many of those kids wind up in New York City. Many of them wind up in San Francisco, Los Angeles. Many of them wind up addicted to drugs. Many of them wind up as sex workers. Many of them wind up dead. Half of gay males experience a negative parental reaction when they come out to their families. Half. About a quarter of them get thrown out of their houses. That's how large it is. Studies also indicate, and this is from the PFLAG website, studies also indicate that between 25% and 50% of homeless youth are LGBT. And they're on the streets because of their sexual orientation or their gender identity. So there's a section on Huffington Post called Queer Voices. Let me tell you how you get to Queer Voices on the Huffington Post. First, you have to be on the home page. Then you have to look around and find this thing called Voices. So you tap on Voices, and then you get this whole other big page, all this content on it. So then you find that there's another tab called Voices. You click on that, and there's a list of voices. One of them is Queer Voices. There's Latin voices, there's Black voices, there's women voices. But this is at least 4 or 5 or 6 clicks down before you even get to it. There's no way to know on the front page of the Huffington Post that they have any content there whatsoever that is specifically for LGBTQs. That is an LGBTQ paradigm. That's a safe place for LGBTQs to read content, to talk about that content, to have discussions. So I go there and I look at it. It's pretty good content. I'm looking around, there's a couple of articles about PrEP and Truvada, there's a couple of articles about trans people and their lives, and then I look at the comments, and that's where all hell breaks loose. Let me now talk about our friend Fox News. So I went to the Fox News website yesterday to take a look at what their coverage was like about Orlando. Let me read you the headline from Fox's reportage. Ready? 50 killed in shooting at Florida nightclub in possible act of Islamic terror. Where's the mention of the fact that it was a gay club? Where's the mention of the fact that it was LGBTQ people who were attacked? So this is what we're faced with in the news these days. I made the huge mistake of taking a look at the comments on the Fox site also, but I just want to read you a couple of them. Notice the story says some of them were hiding in closets. Was just thinking, if they hadn't come out of the closet, this probably wouldn't have happened. Comment number 1. Comment number 2. liberals are mostly gay and gays are mostly liberal. And that is why these people were shot. Comment number 3. Hillary thought some of her future lovers had been shot, but was relieved when they were guys. So this is the tenor of conversation online these days. This is what we're faced when, as gay people, we try to find news about what's going on in the world. But I want to also talk about some hope and some of the better messages that we found. President Obama, in his speech yesterday about Orlando, had this to say about Pulse, which is the gay club where the shooting took place. He said, "It is more than a nightclub," he said. He said, "This is a place of solidarity and empowerment, where people come together to raise awareness, speak their minds, and to advocate for their civil rights." He spoke eloquently and beautifully about community and the need for safe places for LGBTQs. The fact is, there aren't any. There certainly aren't any safe places online for LGBTQs. None. There are none. How do I know this? Because as the chief content officer and the co-founder of Be Out, which I'm going to tell you about now, I did an enormous amount of research into how LGBTQs use social media, how they use technology, where they get their information from, where they go to have conversations. There is no safe place right now. So let me tell you a little bit about Be Out. Be Out is a social media app. It's not a website, it's an app for mobile devices. One of the reasons we chose to develop an app instead of a website is because we found that 99% of LGBTQs use smartphones. Much more higher penetration than in the general population. So that was one of the reasons that we decided to make an app. We talked about how, sitting around one night talking about how one-dimensional these so-called dating apps are on the web now. I'm sure many of you have heard of them, Grindr, Scruff, all that kind of thing. They're one-dimensional, they have one purpose. They're not dating apps. I can't stand when they call them dating apps. They're, let's be honest, they're hookup apps. That's what they're for. They're one-dimensional, they're one-to-one. You can't have a large discussion, you can only have one-to-one messaging. So what happens? A gay man in New York is going to San Francisco. He goes on one of these dating apps and asks a question. Anybody know a gay-friendly place to stay in Mendocino? And here's what he gets back. He gets back, because this is a hookup app, and because that's the social construct, that's what everybody expects everybody else is there for, he doesn't get back any information about a gay-friendly place in Mendocino. He gets back a NFSW picture. You all know what that means? Not suitable for work. NSFW. So you can imagine. One of the things that we did notice when we looked at those apps was that a lot of gay men were pushing out at the edges of them. They were asking questions like, where can I stay in the Bay Area? They were asking questions like, anybody know anybody in Hell's Kitchen? I just want to have dinner. They were asking all kinds of questions, but the format and the expectation of people who are on those apps is those questions are fake. What they really want to do is hook up. So there was no place for anyone to commiserate, to talk about things. Enter Be Out. So what we did was, we did a lot of research. We looked at Pew Research, we looked at CMI, but the most startling data point in all that research that we did, the single most startling data point that jumped off the page to us was this. 85% of LGBTQ people say they check their social media platforms on average 4 times a day, but only 15% say they ever talk about LGBTQ issues online. Why is that? We asked ourselves. The answer that immediately came to us was that's because there's no safe place to do this. So we wanted to back that up and just not use our own, our own conclusion. So we went ahead and interviewed people for weeks and weeks, LGBTQ people, from all across the LGBTQ spectrum. We interviewed trans people, trans men, trans women, lesbians, gay people, people who identify as queer. We asked all of them the same questions. And almost unanimously, every one of them said, yeah, the reason I don't talk about LGBTQ issues online is because I'm afraid to, because of the hate speech that inevitably ensues when those kinds of conversations are taking place. So we recognize the need for an LGBTQ paradigm in social media, not a cul-de-sac, not a queer voices cul-de-sac in a straight paradigm, but our own, a place where we can feel safe, a place where we can talk about anything we want to talk about without any fear of retribution. It's a very difficult thing to do in social media, as you mentioned earlier. So we built Be Out, and it's launching in September. And the first thing we did was we went out and we found the best content people, the best writers, the best contributors we could find from the LGBTQ community. So, what is Be Out? It's a center. It's an LGBTQ paradigm. It's where we can feel safe as a community to talk about anything we want to talk about without fear of the kind of content that I read to you before from Fox, the kind of content that I saw on Huffington Post Queer Voices, the kind of content and responses in comment sections I see all across the internet when people are allowed to comment anonymously. One of the extraordinary things about Be Out is that it's based on authentic profiles. You have to be who you say you are. It has to be a picture of you. It has to be you. And it's all about authenticity, a well-lit, safe space. I look forward to seeing you on Be Out. Thank you very, very much.